Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures, Daily Dose of Nature. I'm your host, Sunny Vanderstar. Today's topic is weird and wonderful sounds of the wild, and it will be presented by our fabulous Nat Hab expedition leader, Arpita Dutta. Arpita, thank you so much for being here today. I cannot wait to hear your impressions. They always make me smile. So I'm going to turn it right over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Sunny. And now I think I have to do at least one or two just for you and for the rest of the viewers who are there. But it's gonna sound very weird because I haven't practiced the impressions today really well. So welcome everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in today. It's been always a pleasure. And of course, as we hear, I wish I could hear all of your voice at least once, but till the time, this is my voice. And when we talk about voice and, whatever our ear hears and our brain process, I think that's a very complex way of understanding, or how do we take it? Like, hey, how are you? It's fun, right? Hey, what's up? I mean, if you say like this, it's friendly. Oh, how are you? It can be a little, critic. So, our tone, our exactly how Sunny said, the impression. So in different vocalization actually brings a lot of different understanding to our brain. But just while thinking of that, why we have, I don't know about the weird and wonderful part, but I think most impressive sound we get to hear from nature. Like, because we are so urbanized and we have smartphones, now we use Kindles, or mostly we are most prone towards, technical stuff, right? So there is a tension between the technology filled urban world and the wild and the natural world. I think it's so powerful because while we have all these complex and multitasking things, which exactly our prefrontal frontal cortex executes everything, at one point that also get tired, like we stop thinking, we cannot do multitasking, or we just need to take a break. And I believe, and I'm sure that you all believe, that nature has the ability to restore. And that's the fantastic part of being in nature. And thankfully, till date, though we are in a crisis situation, but till date, we have like nature around us with its sound to relish. We have so many national parks, sanctuaries, and even where we live, even the backyard, maybe a tree. Also, if we focus, we find so much of pleasure, even when the leaves are rattling, because of the wind. So, starting with the nature sounds, it's like the soothing thing. I think even if we sit in front of a small stream where we get to hear the flowing water, that rejuvenates us. Even the falling leaves in a forest or in a jungle or just in a walk, especially I do believe that you all enjoy the fall because of the colors and the beautiful carpet it forms. So it's just the pleasant thing what we get in the mind. And then even not for the pleasant, even I think the thunderstorm, of course, if it doesn't cause any harm, but even the thunderstorm, the rain, it also brings a lot of excitement. Imagine there was a time when I tried a lot to click, this is not my picture, of course, but I tried to click the lightning. That was very exciting for me to understand exactly where it's gonna light. And it's just a handle camera, and I used to keep on moving. And every time there was a lightning, my hand shakes because right after that there was a thunder. So anyway, but yeah, that brings a lot of excitement as well. Even when we are around nature, the morning, imagine an owl is I mean, it's just more active at night, but in the morning, it's just sitting there under the sun in the winter. It's a silence out there, but that silence has so much to speak. Even at night, this is me inside a forest and enjoying the silence of the night, and just could hear those crickets, insects, and when it is very quiet, from far distance, you might get to hear a deer giving alarm call, or sometimes actually I've heard quite a few times a tiger like roar, which actually travels. I'll come to that. So those things, even a sunrise, I mean, the morning starts with the twittering of birds and a good wind. It gets so much freshness, and with the visual thing, I think we do get that fresh feeling of being around nature. So it is always suggested and it is recommended by the physicians and all the researchers and scientists that the more we are attached to nature, I think we're gonna gain a lot of elasticity to our neurons, and we can do work, we can think better, we can live our life really, really happy. So before we start, as Sunny said, I'll just I'll try to mimic a call of a bird called common hawk cuckoo, which you will get to hear in India if you come near summer. And it's just with that call. I mean, initially when there was no weather focused, the people in the rural area, they used to know that the summer is approaching by listening to this particular bird call, because it starts calling in summer. So it's like sorry, my whistling is not that good, but it's beautifully like sound. And at one time, they do only short notes, like it's a continuous call, only these short notes. And that's why sometimes you get a headache because of, I mean, it says. And that's why this bird is also known as the brain fever. So yeah, if you are coming to India or Southeast Asia, you will get to hear this bird. So yeah, the singer, of course. I mean, when we talk about the nature and the animals, the first thing which comes to our mind is the singing bird. And but the birds have two different ways, which is a call or a song. And birds have gained a special attention over the years because of their singing ability. Okay, in India, there is a bird called quail. And if there is a lady who sings really well, and everybody says that you have a voice of a quail. So we get, I mean, oops, sorry. I mean, we get generalized with the bird's song as well, or the nightingale we talk about. Even their calls, like together, they already leading the league, I guess. Or of course it is. They seem to impress and call to answer their instinct. That's how they go. They are like, because singing needs a lot of energy and pressure and a lot of effort, which they don't want to put every time they open their mouth. So call is just to like show their territory. That's okay, this is my area. All the girls, especially the male sings, so all the girls in my territory just don't look at them. So these are claiming, and if there is a female, just to impress, and we know that how much the bird can give effort to impress a female just by looking at the birds of paradise. But over the thing, songbirds have like patterns. they have different patterns and pitch. So the first thing like the songbirds learn their song and perform them using a specialized voice box called the syrinx. So here is where it is placed. Okay, the syrinx is actually serves two main functions. One is control the airflow or the labial tension. Now, how does it work? Let me tell you. So imagine this is the track, okay, and these are the organ, and here if you see where the larynx is, so it is like the larynx is located at the caudal end of the trachea. So this is the trachea, and here it is the larynx over here, and these muscles are called the labial. I mean, so the muscle tension, I mean, when they're taking the air in, and when I say that taking the air in, actually when the bird calls, the trachea, the bronchus, the lungs, the air sacs all come together with syrinx to produce the beautiful sound they make. And this one is like and this syrinx, where it is located, the trachea consists of a framework here. Oops, where? Yeah. So here is a framework, okay, and that framework of cartilage and soft tissue actually helps to resonate or the vibration of the sound. It constitutes like a elastic aerodynamic sound it gets. So if you see this picture, over here, though it is not very prominent, but over here you can see the labial muscle that closes the narrow down the area. So that's how much the air would come out. And here, when they widen it up, and that is how they control the volume, the pitch, and the tune they are gonna sing with. And the aerodynamic energy is transformed into acoustic energy. So the air gets in, all this mechanism happens of the labial and the larynx and the cartilage, and then when it comes out, it produces the beautiful sound. And the position of the labia are set into a pre-phonatory position. Imagine there is the main building, I would say the building block of the sound. And the muscles, when the muscles are set into the oscillation by passing the airflow, and that's how they open and close. So when it comes to a short call, it's mostly the chirps or the short, like chick 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 chick. This is when they call. It means they are like instinct, like whether they have found the food or they want to communicate that there is food, or if there is a predator, they would start giving short calls. So every situation there are calls, and for the song those are long. I mean, they are structured vocalization. If you see the marking here and here, those are very different. And that's the reason why it's always said that we should never play bird calls in the wild just to attract the bird towards yourself just for the sighting, because we know that the long call and the short call, but exactly why they are making that short call, we don't know. So we have recorded few bird calls, and when we play it, suppose they are about to have their food, and suddenly somebody plays that short chirp call, and that might be like a notification for the predator, and they might leave the food and fly away because they need to leave. So that's how it goes. And of course, birds do the territorial fight. They do give all this chirping or little trashy voice or the call for the territorial, and then to approach the females. So of course, this is a beautiful bird tale we can have by just looking at them and observing that what exactly they are doing, especially if you get during the breeding season, the residential breeding season of the bird, you'll mostly get to hear a lot of beautiful bird calls. And sorry. And with that, and when it comes to, so from where do they learn this singing, especially the male sings? So each songbird species has their distinct, patterns. So an experiment has been done with a zebra finch, and a baby male zebra finch learns to sing from its father or other males, and then they try to like listen carefully and try to mimic or try to like produce the kind of call they have been hearing, and that is going generation after generation. The sounds become the tone become isolated, or they get generalized, but they have their own, then they start adding their own notes. I mean, if you want to know more about it, just Google that the study of zebra finch regarding the bird calls. That's beautiful. So with that, bird calls, because that's you can hear inside the forest. But when we enter into the forest, there is another little fellow or the little insect, which is one of the loudest. If we take the ratio of their size, and those are the song of cicadas. And when it comes like that, I would say in USA as well, I think it's summer. In India also it's summer. So the glorious time of the year when cicadas are buzzing so loudly that hardly like I, or rather you, can even hear your thoughts. Because if you enter into the tropical area where you get it, it's just, it seems so noisy, and hardly you can get other animals' voice, but they can understand their language among thousands of cicadas. So the thing is, why are they so loud? Number one, and second is, why, I mean, how they have achieved such an ear-shattering volume. I mean, this is of course a question that it's that tiny, that small, but it can get up to that pitch, which actually disturbs you. But of course there are a lot of other different cicadas. If you once listen to them properly, you can actually get the way of communication, and that's, I think that also it makes the summer forest very lively. Come to India during summer and trust me, you will get to hear them everywhere. But yeah, but those are not but there are time, like in high temperature or low temperature, it need a particular temperature range of temperature where they would call. But it's not that bad. At least I don't find. I think all the naturalists and expedition leaders, they love it, because that's how you get to feel that where and what is happening around. So yeah, and so it actually calls for the territory and claiming the territory and mating, of course. So they use specialized structure, for the call is called the timber. It is in the thin membrane attached to the side, both the sides of the cicada. So if you take this one, so if you see just above the abdomen, one is on this side and the other one would be on the other side. And this has also like a cartilage, as well as, I mean, a timbal plate is also there. These are the rib-like structure which is there, and this is made of cartilage. You see these lines, these are made out of cartilage. So internally the membrane is attached to the muscle that contract and relax. So if I see this membrane, it is attached to those ribs like structure which you see here, and this is when they contract the muscle and relax, they actually resonates. And this timber, I mean, the muscle movement cause the rib-like structure to buckle. They keep on moving on the sides, and each rib buckles create this clicking noise, and this clicking noise then becomes amplified by the timbal plate this one, by the timbal plate. And because the cicada's abdomen is hollow, they don't have any system like alimentary system or anything inside it, so it resonates a sound that loud. And you know, the sound like produced only by the males, and they all take, I mean, I would say that inside the forest during that period of time for few days, it doesn't last for a pretty long time. It just during few days, I think all the cicadas take admission in the orchestra, because they all call at the same time, and with different species would also start singing at the same time. And so imagine for a girl, it would be so difficult to choose or just to listen out of all the male which has been singing at the loud of their, not the voice, but the timbal. So here the male produced the sound as louder as possible to claim the territory and the female. But the female is quiet here. And also they produce the coating call to in between. And their call also depends on temperature, as I said. So the female somehow manage to detect or to identify the perfect pair, like perfect mate for coating. And that's how this forest, I mean, and depending on species to species, cicada can, you know, reborn, born like from 2 to 17 years. I think 70 years cicada, it's there in USA only, that it comes out from the pupate stage after every 17 years. Wow, that's actually, just think of it, just 17 years you were sleeping. My God, I don't even get an hour or two to sleep, you know, properly. But yeah, the female gets to choose the right one, no matter how loud they sounds to our ears. But for the female cicadas, I think they do a really great job. So for the cicadas, for the bird singing and the cicadas in the forest, and the next part, we expect, you know, just to listen at least once in, you know, inside the jungle when you enter, because you get to see them, but to listen, but to hear the roar, especially for the tiger. Even if you don't see it any day, if you get to hear them, I think that is more special than just to see them. I always say that. And if you ask all the expedition leaders and naturalists, they would say the same, because you know, hardly you get to hear them, that their vocalization. And though they vocalize a lot, I mean, these big cats, they vocalize a lot, and with different types of vocalization to like to understand the way of communication and to make understand other what they want to express. And of course, most of the big cats like produces, and especially for the lion and the tiger, and they vocalize also to communicate over long distance call. So roaring, why I took only roaring, because it has so much power to do with it. So roaring produced in variety of situation. You know, for the tiger, you can get to hear them like 5 to 6 kilometers away. In case of lion, almost 8 kilometers away, you can hear that roar. And also, it also depends on the vegetation as well. Mostly, you know, lion, the kind of area, the habitat they choose is mostly open. So that's why the sound travels more. But for the tiger, it's mostly wooded forest. So maybe that's the reason why to sing. And at night, it really, you can hear them loud. And they roar to signal, like sexual receptivity, the female calling for, and just to communicate. So when they are like, when when the female is with her cubs, we get to hear like a chuffing sound, you know, which is friendly, like I'm doing it very bad though, but it's like that. And used between a mother and her cubs as well. I mean, towards sometimes they do that towards a mate as well. And also they moo to greet, especially during the courtship, or the mother comforting the cubs. So it's a very comfortable time when they use that vocalization. But now, when we talk about roar, because while mating, sometimes they do like this, because of a lot of, the female goes through a lot of pain, so that's why they growl, and but that doesn't do nothing to do with the roar. But now when they roar, how sound travels that far, that means that is loud. So high frequency sound can like sounds are common for long distance call, and the vocal production requires a lot of that happens actually. They are exposed to vocal folds, to tensile and shear, and the stress of the muscles and the vocal cord, they produce that sound. And also for the big cats, they have this hired apparatus, which is located, located in the oral cavity, and that helps them to make that, heavy roar. And before we go to a little more, and so what happens if you see this area, just look at this, then I'll show you another thing. So the vocal sound in mammals, suppose for us, of course, that is a mammal too, but for us, it's like produced by the flow-induced vocal fold oscillation. That's how the sounds comes out. And the vocal tissues then, sustain in the mechanical stress. It takes place, and during the phonation, especially because that's a kind of a sound, particular sound they want to like execute, and like moaning, as I said, for that they don't have to stress those muscle or shear those muscle from where they roar. For understanding the mechanism rightly, I will just listen to this.
It starts out very low frequency, comes up higher, and comes back down to the lowest frequency at the very end. This is kind of like taking one of these little penny whistles here, lengthening the sound chamber, lowering the pitch.
This drop in frequency or pitch is a clue to how lions produce their roar.
So physiologically, one of the striking things is that they have a special sound-making apparatus. Recently, it's been discovered that the larynx is attached to their rib cage at a much lower level than other mammals.
Like all mammals, a lion's larynx is controlled by several strips of muscle that connect it to the ribcage. While in other animals, these strap muscles are relatively short, in lions, they are much longer.
These strap muscles attach to the human larynx up at our top rib. For the lion and tigers, etc., it's down about the third or fourth rib.
This increased length is vital. It's thought that when a lion roars, its elongated strap muscles enable the larynx to be pulled far down into the windpipe. And this extra distance between the larynx and mouth is what allows the lion's deep-throated roar to carry over such vast distances.
Okay, so thank God that they can vocalize. I mean, they do have this little bit extra thing in their vocalization for which they can actually communicate from a far distance, especially when they have to be receptive towards mating, so that we can get to see a lot of big cats in the forest. But when it's a big cat, I think we get to hear one of the most fascinated and beautiful note of song is the underwater melody by the whales. And that is, I think, so soothing. Even if we are like sitting in the room just playing the song of the whales, it really soothes our mind. And but at the same time, the power of like being massive, they are gentle. And you know the great family-oriented mammal, marine mammal, of course. But when we say that they live in the pod and lead by the female, a lot of communication is about to happen for sure. And of course, and just right before the presentation starts, Sunny and I mostly like take 2-3 minutes or 5 minutes just to say how we are. So we keep on talking. So yeah, we girls, we do love to talk, and they do. And one of it one way of their communication is through sound. And underwater communication is so challenging. It's hard for animals to see and smell, imagine. So it has to be something which is different from that. And so they have produced the sound, because sound travels almost 4 times faster in water than in air. So marine mammal, after like they have to, or they often rely on vocalization. So there are many different ways of vocalization. Out of all, the evocative, sophisticated melodies are composed by the whales. Of course, I mean they are the singing masters underwater, and only like 5 species among the baleen whales, I mean they know how to like sing. One is blue fin, bowhead, minke, and humpback, of course. So how do they do that? Land mammals like us generate sounds by moving air over our vocal cords, and it also happens due to the vibration it takes into the trachea. So here they have this trachea, like the baleen whale, they have this U-shaped over here. They have this U-shaped fold of tissue between their lungs and a large inflatable organ, which is this one here, which is called the laryngeal sac. So when a whale sings, look at this. So here is the U-shaped vocal area. Okay, if we see here on the right-hand side picture, you would see this blue color mark is the U-shaped one. So it's something like turning the thing. So when the whale sings, the muscular contraction in the throat and the chest move the air from the lungs across the U-shaped. So here is the lungs, so it actually across the U-shaped and into the laryngeal sac. It goes from here, then it comes down to here, and causing the U-fold to vibrate. Like if you see the vibration, it happens, it does that. And the centraling, sound resonates in the sac like a choir singing. So that is how it sounds, especially when it's underwater, making sound loud enough to propagate up to the like almost like thousands of kilometer, not thousands. Yeah, sorry, I have to just get back that how many kilometer actually you can hear the whale sound. But yeah, it's quite a good number of kilometers away you can actually get to hear the calls or the song. They don't have to exhale to sing. So imagine for the bird, for cicadas, for human, for the roar, you have to take on the air, and while bringing it back, this vocal cords, muscles, larynx, this all resonates, and then the like call comes out. But when in case of a whale, the air actually turns out, they don't come out. The air sac again gets back the air, gets back it, and then they exhale to sing. You know, once it comes out, rather, let me just reframe it little in a better way, is when the air comes out, it reaches to the laryngeal sac, it vibrates and it resonates, then it doesn't go out from the mouth, but again it turn back and again it reproduce another song, and then you can hear it as note. And when it comes to whales or for this marine mammals, the favorite part is like the pattern of that how do they sing? Like their song has different patterns. You know, unlike like moans, cries, cries are arranged in phrases, and those phrases are repeated and assembled into themes, and multiple themes repeated in a predictable pattern, which creates a beautiful song. This structure is like quite like a kind of a grammar. Like when we write, we use those to make it perfect. For them, it's the same thing. And with that, you know, they can actually repeat those same themes or patterns for hours. In one like experiment while doing with humpback, it has been seen that the humpback have been repeating the same theme, like the song, the pattern, repeatedly for 22 hours continuously. Imagine 22 hours. That's huge. And that makes me feel that how their song would be and how much desperate they are to communicate, though we really don't know why do they communicate, because it is difficult to know how everything is happening and why they're doing it. But mostly with over the years of experiment and hypothesis, of course, they communicate with the different pods or for the breeding when they're approaching to the breeding grounds or feeding. It's just the way of communication. But the song especially, it has a different thing, that why do they sing for so long, and why do they sing, and why do they have patterns? And we still are researching on that, though you know, the main thing is that every pod of the whale, suppose here if you see, these are different tones of like song, and these are different species of whale. Like this could be a different one, this could be a different one, and see, this is how they are traveling or doing their migration. So by listening to their call, we know that this is that pod which have been found on the coast of Australia, and they have been coming towards, you know, the coast of USA. So that is how exactly say that how long distance they have been migrating. This is amazing. Imagine just by the calls, you can actually identify the exact pod you have seen somewhere else, because, you know, this pod, especially this whale, are led by, they are matriarch. So the grandmother teaches the clan that how the sing and how the note would be, and they actually keep on getting inside, and every pod has a distinctive song they produce. For example, but you know, sometimes it has been seen over the years, just like here, in 10 years, there was a study happened of East Australia, New Caledonia, Tonga, American, and the Crook Island and the French Polynesia. So what has happened, there was a pod which has been traveling, and later it has been seen, because these colors are of the pod, but then they found that there are like few mixtures in those pod calls, And it happens because sometimes the male comes out of their own pod and to the breeding ground for mating. And while doing that, the one, suppose the A pod, the male has come from the A pod and it is coming, the B pod is there. So while the male is here, when he sings, the B pod also takes some notes from the male pod. And that's how, I mean, after many generations, it has been seen that they have been using few patterns of the other pod, but still they have their own distinct communication. And you know, the elusive population of whales worldwide based on their songs. Imagine how to detect and how beautifully, thanks to all our researchers who have been working so hard to get it and giving us this beautiful scenario of sound, that by which we can actually know, you know, not only with tagging, but just listening to their songs, we know that where they are right now. And with that, but unfortunately, you know, due to human interfering noise, like ships, some constructions, submarines, and of course, something is happening on the surface. And these whales are having like communicating problem. Of course, when they're communicating, when they have to resonate their pitch, there are other vibrating things which are coming on, for which they are having this difficulty. Especially, imagine when they are, especially when they are in the feeding ground, it has been seen that they are moving towards the feeding ground, and if there are any disturbance, they actually deviate their path from that side. Even there was a like an I mean, not experiment, but an observation has happened that a humpback actually, when it was almost 8 kilometer, and sorry, almost 200 kilometer away, there was a disturbance of the ship out there, and it has avoided the feeding ground, and it has like gone away. Even they have stopped communicating much, because you know it is not responding to the other communication because of that noise. So it is very I think it touched my our heart. It should rather, just to feel that how much human disturbances are created not only on the land but in the water as well. And the nature sounds are so beautiful that we cannot just some way make it you know, worse day by day, or rather just to listen them what we should, to connect us with the nature. With whales, I was about to say this one, but I knew that all these things have so many informations, and they are so complex that it's so difficult to get all the beautiful I mean the weird way of their calling. It's difficult to bring it in one like webinar. Then again, come after the whale is the complexity of song is or the whistle is the wild dogs. These are the dhols, which are Indian wild dog you get to see in central India, and you have the African dog as well. So it has been seen that almost 18 like sound they make, like just whistles, few of them are not audible to human ear, and almost more than 19 calls are there which you can hear, and that's how they communicate. They just, of course they are ruthless killer, but at the same time this is their communication is so strong that without even making the prey understand, they actually do the coordination. I mean, this is how, but we have to come for that in a different, like I have to continue the topic. Next is another I love to hear is the thundering, you know, the call of the crocodile. I especially love the saltwater crocodile because They are the largest, the most aggressive. Of course, maybe that's the reason why I get to hear often their sound, like gurgling sound, and this thundering, this vibrating sound. And the most soothing sound to my ears when it comes from a croc is the baby croc. Even when they're inside the egg, they start communicating with each other. And when they come out, if one is out, the first they call, they make that ah, 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 ah. So this call, then one or two comes out and they start, communicating even when they're still inside the body is inside the egg, only head is out. And that's, I think, feel the best part, like when you come out and communicate, and that's your voice, that's your vocalization, how you do it. With that, in the rainforest and in the tropical area where I live, I cannot even think of a monsoon without listening to the frogs. And imagine their vocal sac, which they inflate. But how do they keep inflating it continuously without taking like breath from the mouth, often when they keep on calling? And at the same time, there is another mystery, that there are few frogs which doesn't have a vocal sac. That means they don't call, but it has been seen that they're still breeding. So till date, no one knows that it's called the Indian starry frog, and no one knows that how they are breeding and how they are communicating while they don't have the organ generally to do the communication. And of course, when it comes to communication, we cannot avoid the sonar or the echolocation of the bat. But it's beautiful that they have their own language, they have their own sound. But I'll definitely bring this sound in with more different species, and including these four which I have already just now mentioned, to maybe in a next part 2 webinar. But thank you so much, and I hope that you would like go out to the jungle, like lose yourself into the nature sound, and it's just awesome. It feels so happy. And thank you so much for listening to me. And Sunny, I'm ready to take up the questions.
Arpita, thank you so much. You really do inspire me to go out and just sit and listen and bring my kids along, because I imagine they'll hear as much, if not more, than I do. So thank you for the inspiration. Before we start the Q&A, I want to remind everyone that they can submit questions via the questions field in the control panel. Let's go ahead and get started. There's already some comments saying a part 2 would be marvelous. So with this is like the age-old question, right? How do biologists know how cicadas know that it's time to emerge? It's amazing to think they know when 17 years have lapsed. Do you have any information for us? Is there anything new on that topic?
So first of all, it's the weather and the time they take for the pupa to form, like to being, because they come out as an adult, right? So, and they come out from the ground, and it takes that much time to, that adulthood, if I say, if they come out. So that is how it takes from species to species. I mean, it takes so much of time to grow.
They're not waiting. They're actually developing to the point where they can come out.
Developing, and at the same time, unless and until there is a right I mean, suppose 17 years back there was a cicada, egg, and they developed, and unless and until this whole year of development, but the year, if they find the right temperature and the climate, then they come out to give the call and mate, and they die.
Fascinating. Is some of whale communication echolocation?
Well, communication has this echolocation, but the whale song is different. So whale also perform a lot of different types of, calls, but those are like moans, like cries or chirps are there, which which they use for communication, and also they make this, they bring out high pitch sound, which helps them also to find the resonate, like from where it is actually hitting and coming back. But it's not as good as the dolphins, how they do it, but they have that. But the song is completely different from those echolocations.
Can you clarify for us where the song is generated with whales? Is it via the blowhole or body vibration?
No, it's not the blowhole. Okay, I can go back. Just a moment. Let me take you to the, yeah. So if we see this U-shape structure, what you see here, where it is called the laryngeal sac. Okay, so when they actually take the breath, this where the lungs, which is attached to the trachea and the lungs, so the air gets in, and then it goes to this U-shaped muscle, which is here, this blue one, or rather, if you can see the right hand side picture here. Okay, so the air enters and then it turns, it makes a sound, and it resonates inside the sac, here, and it turns out, it take a U-turn again and goes back and again create another sound, then it comes out as the song from the mouth. So nothing like here is just to pass the air, but the larynx make the noise or the song comes out. Is it clear?
Yes, yes,
No,
absolutely.
I don't think so. Is it? Because these are so complicated. No, I don't blame if they don't. I mean, if she or he doesn't understand this, but it's the main thing is that their air which they take, it comes in, it doesn't passes out through the blowhole, but it again takes a turn to the laryngeal sac, and it resonates second time, and then it comes the extra air passes out, and the voice, the song, especially that comes out from the mouth, which is like so melodious.
What are some of your favorite animal sounds in the rainforest?
Oh my God, I just can't be nonstop with this call, with this answer. So first of all, I'm a heart person, so I love frogs and reptiles, of course. So when I come to the rainforest, definitely I would say the different calls of the frogs, and just like bird calls, like you can hear some caw, caw. This is like a crow in the jungle, even if you don't see it, it's a crow. If there is a robin, by singing robin, you get to know that this is a robin. Exactly, you can do that with frogs. Every species got so different varieties of calls, and that is also a different time of the year, and especially in monsoon. And it's just not the croc. They do how we, when we were young, we used to get that the frog crocs, but it's not only crocs. They have also call like birds, and they are so melodious, so soothing to our ears. So of course it's frogs.
Well, speaking of birds, are there species of birds that have multiple songs? And if they do, which bird has the most songs?
So here I would take two names. One in India, there is a bird called white-rumped shama, and this bird is very snobbish. It cannot take anybody sings better than him. So every time, if you know whistling, if you whistle, even in a very complicated way, it will start making it more complicated, and almost it has been seen it adds on to 13 to 18 notes in one song. So that is how it like implies a lot of research and development to produce that beautiful and complicated song. This is here. And another one, I think one bird has mastered to mimic, or rather to produce voice in such a manner, is the lyrebird in Australia. Because from its own song to a kookaburra to a shutter click to a sawing chain, it can like bring every sound it can hear. So I think, yes, this too I can definitely say about.
Very cool. Well, I think that's the last question we have time for today. So I will hand it back to you for closing comments.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. But I would ask for an apology for the last webinar. There were questions. Apart from one, I couldn't like get back to everyone. But on 13th, I'm going to take a little off. So that day I'll do. And even for today's questions, I'll see that if I can get a better answer or any research material which can actually give a better answer or understanding to your questions. I'll definitely forward it on 13th and 14th, all like answers and like question answer day for all of you. And thank you so much for your patience, and would like to bring new and fun topics. And I would also request, please let me know the kind of thing you would like to listen. I'll try if I can bring them. And have a great day. Have a great day to you also, Sunny. Take care.
Thank you, Arpita. It's always a pleasure. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. Please join us again tomorrow for our next Daily Dose of Nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude the webinar. Have a wonderful day, everyone.